Well, here we are then, folks. The G.I. Joe Classified Series excitement continues on MoDXtra Games and Collectibles as we have the third and final figure that came in my pre-order package today, although you'll be watching this a few days later. And this one here is the Scrap Iron and Anti-Armor Drone. Ooh, this is a big boy, this one. Very exciting. Now, this is a character that doesn't really mean a great deal to me particularly, but when I saw the in-hand reveals on the G.I. Joe Classified Series Hasbro Pulse stream over on YouTube, whenever that was, a couple of months back, there was a lot to like about what they were showing with this one, so I just had to get the pre-order made, and this is import stock from Hong Kong that's arrived here in the UK just this week. So let's take a closer look at it, shall we? So here's the packaging. The new G.I. Joe Classified windowless design aesthetic here, with the black motif and the big digital render image making the figure the kind of central focus of the picky. Then we've got this section in the corner showing off a load of the accessories and goodies that come with it, and then the classic G.I. Joe Classified artwork, which is less of a focal feature on the front cover of these boxes that they're currently using. Then on the back of the box, we've got more digital render images of the figure and all the included goodies, the little measurement thing, ruler on the side there telling us that Scrap Iron is 6.2 inches tall, a couple of pictures focusing in on a couple of key features like the paint applications on the hand grenades, the rocket launching effects, and then the face sculpt, which I'm very excited about and want to take a close look at because that looks awesome. Then the data card, which I've mentioned this wave has become less of a feature with regards to on the packaging, what's going on there. But to roll through these, we've got a picture of a dropping bomb here. So Scrap Iron is clearly a movie fan and likes a bit of the old Stanley Kubrick's Doctor Strange love. This thing here looks like a launching missile, which I think is possibly an acknowledgement of his love of 80s movies, particularly the Matthew Broderick War Games. Then we've got this one here, helmet with a line through it, which is indicating that Scrap Iron is concerned with hat hair, although clearly, as we can see from this picture here, it's an affliction that he still suffers from. And then finally, it looks like we've got an anvil and a hammer here, so that's an acknowledgement of Scrap Iron's hobbies. At the weekend, he's a LARPer and likes to go as a Viking blacksmith. Legal bollocks and malarkey here across the bottom. Not a great deal going on the very bottom there. More legal bollocks and malarkey, plastic-free packaging, what's kind of call it, propaganda. Data card and QR code at one side, number 74 in the line, and some the artwork again replicated from the front, this time in that kind of blue computer screen style. And then a big shot of the artwork up the other side there in the colour. That's a nice piece of artwork, that. I like that. Like that. With his finger on his little drone remote. Very good. Okay, let's get into it. I've popped the tape on the top here, so let's get that open and slide all this stuff out. So what we've got here, it looks like we've got two cardboard trays in there. Nope, one cardboard tray and a weapons locker. So there's Scrap Iron with some of the core drone sections involved. And then the weapons locker, so let's start with this. I like these new black look ones, actually. These are nice. I've been keeping these. They've been handy. Oh, right, loads of baggies in here. And, of course, the paperwork. And let's start with this bag, then. And what we got in here, I'll tear across the top there. Nothing in that? Nope. Tip it out. All right, so these are all like the explosion effects and stuff. These look great. I'll have to put some thought into how I show these off a bit later on in the review section of the video. But, yeah, those are looking really cool. And then, second baggie here. Nothing in the top there. Nope. Tip all this stuff out. Oh, look at that. Loads of cool stuff. Is that everything? I think that's everything. Feels like it's everything out the bag. There we go. More explodey blast effects. The missiles from the drone. Scrap Iron's helmet. His little drone remote control, which looks like it's from a Nintendo Switch. And then his handgun. Oh, right, bit of off-camera scissoring needed here. Okay, just cut the tie wraps here. So we've got all the various units, bits to the drone here. There's the tracks and the top of it. And, of course, Scrap Iron himself. Looks like the drone goes together pretty straightforward, actually. Just got a little peg on the top here. Oh, hang on, let's have a look on the box. Is it that way around or that way around? Must be that way around. Can he click, is that? Is there going to be a bit of a clicking? There we are. Yeah, that's straightforward enough. The drone's pretty easy to put together there. All right, well, I can't really get much of a zoomed-in shot on that with all this stuff here on the table, but I can tell you straight out the packet, the head sculpt is already making a very strong first impression, folks. So, but don't worry, because I'll move on to the review section of the video imminently, so we can take a closer look at the figure and all these various goodies. But that's everything that comes out of the box. So I'm going to go away now and have some playtime, pose him up, get some displays done, take some photos. The regulars around these parts will know the routine by now, and come back in a couple of days to review the figure. So that's the unboxing done. Hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll be back. Or future Chris will be back, should I say. So stick around, review coming in 3, 2, 1. And here we are then, folks. Here is scrap iron in the plastic. So I'm going to move into the review section of the video now. If you're new around these parts, just a quick rundown so you know what a MoDXtra Games and Collectibles review looks and feels like. I do my reviews in 3 sections I call the 3 A's. The first A is aesthetic. We're going to talk about how he looks, paint applications, textures, details, sculpts, all that good stuff. What's the visual impact of the figure? Then I'm going to move into the second A, which is articulation. How does he move? How posable is he? And then finally, we're going to land on number 3, accessories and added value, which is a big section for scrap iron. So strap in, folks. This is going to be one of my more lengthier and thorough video reviews. And it's my intent that by the conclusion of all that, if you're thinking about picking up a scrap iron and his anti-armor drone for yourself, then my thoughts and comments will hopefully make your mind up as to whether this is the figure for you. So let's not dilly-dally around, let's get into it, and let's get started with the aesthetic. Okay then, folks, I've brought scrap iron a little bit nearer to the camera so that we can conduct a closer inspection of these visual details, these visual elements on the figure. And straight away, if you're anything like me, there is a significant visual feature that really stands out, and that's the head sculpt. Look at this. Just right from glimpsing him in the digital renders, then the in-hand demonstration that Lenny gave on the Hasbro Pulse fan stream a little while ago, he was already looking really shit hot when it came to face sculpt territory, but now he's in hand, and I've got the, the plastic 3-dimensional figure in my own collection. I've got to tell you, folks, that is an incredibly striking element to the fig. The burn scars are incredible. Look at the detail in that. A tremendous aspect to the figure. Lots of narrative, lots of storytelling going on there. It looks really lovely, incredibly well sculpted. The darker purple paint applications across them look great. Just telling a story as you cast your eye over the figure. It's incredible. But that continues all the way around the rest of the head sculpt here. Look at that. Fantastic facial features, the scars across the eyes, the paint applications on the 2 different eyes to distinguish between the scarred one and the non-scarred one. And then all the scars and marks all the way around the head, across the other eye, up in the corner here. This is a dude that has been there and seen it. He's been through the mill. He's been battered. Just to an extraordinary extent, and it is all there. There's a whole story being told on this guy's face, and I love it. The way the hair's been sculpted as well to sort of be, it's not growing here where where the burn scars are and stuff. Really excellent, just tremendous, just really excellent face sculpt. An incredibly striking visual element on the figure, and one that I think G.I. Joe Classified have really outdone themselves with. That is awesome. I can't bang on about it enough. I'm really, really impressed with the head sculpt. Now, a bit later on, when I do the accessories and added value, I'll talk about the helmet as well, because the helmet, even though it's wonderful, does sort of take away from the head sculpt experience a little bit, which is an odd choice, but of course it's a key visual element of the OG look of scrap iron, but we'll get to that. But I'm sure you'll agree, taking this close-up view, that head sculpt is outstanding. Really, really massively enjoying that element of the figure. That attention to detail and that sculpting quality continues right the way through the figure, though. It's not just a one-hit wonder with a great head and a crappy body, like... what did I experience that with recently? The big Marvel Legends Apocalypse, great head, and then just a really plasticky body, but that's not the case at all with scrap iron. Look at this. Look at his blast vest with the paint applications on the buckles and the different color tones in the 2 reds, the paint applications on the pouch, on the grenades, and that carries on all the way around. little bits of detail in here, see on the back, and then all the blast padding and the black straps around the side. And you can see it all the way down in the arm here as well. Got his padded elbows in a different paint application and a different texture to the rest of the sleeves across his elbows there. Just outstanding. All the fabric textures are in there too. You can see these belts are a different texture to the main uniform underneath. We've got the elasticated bands around the wrists, around the neckline, all there. You can see it continues down into these belts and holsters and stuff on his legs, again with the different colour paint applications all over them, really adding to the experience. The texture, the fabric texture design on the trousers, the textured knee pads, the boots, and they've got a bit of paint application on them too. Just incredibly well sculpted, lots of excellent details in the figure. So it's not just all about the head, even though the head is tremendous, it's supported by the whole frame, the whole picture, the whole experience of the figure, which I am appreciating a great deal. The colour scheme is great. The blues, the reds, the blacks, they all work with the kind of brassy tones on the buckles and stuff. Fantastic piece of work. Obviously got an element of uniformity in the colour scheme there with the red, the blue and black with the likes of Cobra officers and Cobra vipers. But when you drop Scrap Iron in amongst other red, blue, black Cobra characters, he doesn't blend. He still stands out as a unique, a persona, a personality within the lineup. He's not just, just some blending soldier type. There's more to him. The least of which is the head sculpt. But when you've got the helmet on, obviously that makes a difference. Does have that bloody shiny shirt syndrome though. That annoys me. Obviously it's largely covered up by his blast vest, but it's there. You can see it poking out in the collar at the top here. They've got to do something about these shiny shirts. It does definitely clash with the more matte look and feel of the arms and the trousers and stuff, and it takes me out of the experience and reminds me that I'm playing with a plastic toy, even though I am playing with a plastic toy. We all know that. So yeah, there's not a great deal else to say about the aesthetic of the figure. It's top notch. I love it. The head sculpt is obviously outstanding. I mean, look at it. I go on about having storytelling with my figures, being able to tell a story in amongst my play experience, and that this guy tells a story just in the head alone, doesn't he? He blends in with the rank and file, sure, but he's still got his own personality. He still stands out on the shelf. Even with the helmet on, he's got a little bit of pop and fizzle, bit of vavavoom, bit of sizzle to him. He's just really standing out, and I've been enjoying it a great deal. Aesthetically, I find him very visually pleasing. He's a great piece of work by G.I. Joe Classified, and that can only mean that he's getting a MoDXtra Games and Collectibles 2 thumbs up for the head alone. Just really, the figure looks great. So there you go. There's a bit of a closer look at the figure and some chat about the aesthetic. Let's now move on to talk about his articulation. So it's the standard G.I. Joe Classified series core model, for articulation. And if you've seen either any of my videos or anybody else's videos or had one in your hand before, you'll know the routine by now. But as I've said repeatedly when reviewing G.I. Joe Classified, standard does not mean standard in the usual sense, because it is a high standard. The articulation really does open up a world of possibilities when it comes to posing and putting them in dioramas and displays and for your photography and all that kind of stuff. So G.I. Joe Classified series figures appeal to all sorts of man-child play requirements. But I'll run through it quickly, just in case you've never seen a G.I. Joe Classified series figure before. Let's start above the shoulders. So the head, we've got the ball and hinge at the top and the ball at the bottom. So good range of motion down, good range of motion up. Bit of tilt in there, and you can go all the way around, do your full exorcist, no problem at all. Lots of motion there. Then in the shoulders, you can't quite see it because of the way the blast vest sits, but he's got a butterfly shoulder on each of the 2 shoulders there, giving him a bit of shuffle. Then a hinge, allowing for the T-shape. Swivel here at the top of the bicep and tricep. Pinless double elbows that'll get you all the way up to there. Then the standard peg G.I. Joe Classified hands, which give you lots of swivel. And then the right arm has a hinge up and down. And then the left arm has a hinge in and out, although that's quite stiff, that. Didn't notice, I've not done much with that hinge. There you go. Now, I think there's an ab crunch in here. Obviously, the blast vest is restricting that, is obstructing the possibility of using the ab crunch. You've got a bit of movement forward and back in the hip area, which also gives you some swivel too. Now, it's a bit old school, that. It's been a while since we've had a G.I. Joe classified figure with, you know, a bulletproof vest or a blast vest or some armour or something that's restricting movement. So I was a bit kind of out of the habit of having that going on. There is some movement in this armour as well, so you can sort of flex it a little bit to help you if you're doing some swivel and stuff, but the ab crunch is completely out of the question. Moving down, we've got the standard G.I. Joe classified drop-down joint in the groin there, which gives you a good range of motion. Got the full Russian ballet there. And an okay motion forward. So you'll notice there as I'm doing that, bringing the leg up, that the this belt pattern here where it drops down and goes across the thigh restricts your movement forward a little bit. I'll tell you something else, folks. So out the box, scrap iron has been very loose in the groin, but was very stiff in the knees and ankles. Had to apply some heat, really, to get good movement down here. But up there, it's a bit loosey-goosey, which is a shame that I've got these straps, because I could have done a lot with that loosey-goosiness in terms of movement. But yeah, he's got the full range of motion forward. It's just that this bit of belt here is obstructing, and as you can see, it sort of gives it a little kind of bounce-back motion as that, because it's a little bit rigid in that point there where the belt joins, and there's no movement in that at all because of the way the blast vest is. It's not glued on, but you can't really, you know, lift it any higher than that. So I don't. If people are looking to do karate kicks with their scrap iron, you're not going to have a lot of luck. Pinless double knee, which is getting you up to there, so not all the way up to the arse cheek, but decent, solid. Swivel at the top of the boot, and then the hinge forward and back with the rocker in the feet area. Still a bit stiff in the ankles, actually, even after a few blasts with the hairdryer the other day. So that's notable. So articulation-wise then, it's definitely a thumbs up, because as regular viewers of this channel will know, I love the G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation, but with some small print notes there to point out that the blast vest is going to restrict some of what you're trying to do, and you may end up with some weird joint stuff going on like I did, loose groin, tight knees, which is weird, you know, to have those 2 points so close together on the figure being such polar opposites in terms of capability. But when I think about the type of stuff I was trying to do with him, the kind of poses I was trying to put him in and some of the photos I was trying to take, I don't know, I wasn't looking for masses of motion in him. I mean, when I get to the accessories, he's a dude who stands behind a robot with a remote control, so I don't know. But if you're looking to do more ambitious stuff, you might find the blast vest is a little bit problematic, and if you've got some iffy joints like I did, then it could be irksome. But still, the G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation is leaps and bounds above anything else, and I love it, so it's a thumbs up. Right, let's get into accessories and added value. And this is a big section now, guys, because I'm basically doing a whole second review of another character in some respects. So strap in, let's take a look at the goodies. Hey, I'll tell you what, before I forget, folks, Eric, if you're watching, when you get around to watching this, give me a shout. You recommended something for me that would help me when the joints were loosey-goosey. I think back when I reviewed Serpentor, so, but I completely forgot and I never picked any up. So give me a shout and let me know some oil or some, I don't know, lotion or something. That was going to help the figures out. But anyway, here we go. We're into the accessories and added value. And of course, here is the main event when it comes to accessories and added value. I've had to turn the brightness up a little bit, folks, on the lights to make the black drone stand out all right against the black background. So I hope that's looking okay on camera for you. But yeah, here's the main event. And there's quite a lot to like, but there's one or two things about it that I must admit I've been feeling critical of, so I'll get into that. Obviously, it's a lot of fun. It's a super lot of fun. You've got this big main kind of unit at the top here, which will mount the missiles. We'll look at those in a second. And then you've got these two kind of tracks around the bottom. There is not a great deal of points of articulation, but there's some in there. So you saw me sort of manhandling it, swiveling it on point. There's a ball joint in there, which gives you some tilt and some swivel with the angling of the launcher. You know, you can go all the way around there like that. And then there's a little bit of articulation down the bottom, just some small amount of movement there in the tracks on a small swivel, but not a great deal. And so I suppose that's one of the things I'm a bit critical of, is that even though it looks great, and we'll talk about the aesthetic in a little bit more detail in a second, I think I might have liked a little bit more articulation. Like, one of the first things I did when I took it out of the box, I don't know if you've noticed in the unboxing, was to test whether the tracks moved or not. But we've got these kind of points here on the tracks that would have been fictionally the articulation points in it, and I don't know, just a little bit of extra stuff down below in the tracks here. Like if you're taking photos out in the real world in your garden or whatever, then you could have done with. I imagine you could do with a little bit more motion there for like looking like it's traversing over terrain or stuff, or maybe a way to kind of pinch them together and raise it. I don't know. I would have just looked for a little bit more because it just feels a little bit static. Like I can't quite create a look of motion, give it a little bit something more dynamic in there. So like some moving tracks or a couple of extra points of articulation may have helped out. Aesthetically though, very pleasing. Lots of attention to detail has gone into it. They're certainly approaching this type of sort of plasticky extra bits with the same attention to detail that they give to the figures. You can see on the front there, we've got like these cameras and scanners and lights or whatever they are on the front. We've got paint applications all around in the grills, on these little joints here in the silvery bits. We've got the serial number, some company propaganda there, piezo electric with the symbol, and then on the other side, anti-tank 002. It's got all these lovely little extra nice touches. You can see the detail continues here in things like this, what looks like a kind of exhaust port thing. We've got these reversing lights, little Cobra symbol, a grill at the back there, different colour tracks. You can see the sculpting across the top here as well to just give it some texture and detail. That's all lovely. The plastic is a little bit on the plasticky side. It does look a bit plasticky. So it's got that kind of plasticky shine, which is a shame. I would have liked maybe something done with it to make it look a little bit more metallic, certainly in the top unit. Like the tracks don't look quite as bad, but the top unit's got that kind of plasticky shine, and I would have liked it maybe to appear a little bit more metallic in tone, but that's fine. But yeah, so there's the drone. Very exciting stuff. I've definitely been having some fun taking some little shots for this in the light box and sort of playing around with some poses with scrap iron, sort of like putting his foot up or sitting on the edge of it and things. Yeah, it's been fun. You then have the two missiles that come with it. These, again, have both got little bits of kind of information on the side. They're laser guided, spelt with a Z, and X04. I'm not quite sure what that serial number is indicating, but that is what it is. They're in this kind of red colour. Yeah, they look fine. Just single piece of moulded plastic with a like a decal paint application on the top, which is cool. They got the pegs on the bottom there. Will come to their purpose, but in their square shape and size, they just fit in lovely and nice into the front chambers of the drone, like so. No problem at all. Then we've got all these blast effects. Just like, I don't even know what to do with these. They're overwhelming in some respects. Certainly these big chunky bits have been overwhelming. These two in my hand are the rocket blast effects. Oh, see, I've turned the brightness up to see the black drone, but now the white elements on the blast effects are shining funny. Sorry, folks. I hope you can see okay. Get a full appreciation of what these look and feel like. But these two longer ones are the firing effects for the missiles. So we've got a peg at either end of each of these here that kind of fit into a slot at the base of the missile channels, and then those pegs that are pointed out on the missiles fit on the ends of these here. So you can see there's just a little section there, and you pop it in like so, and then you just slide that in there like that, and you can feel the resistance. And there you go. You got a rocket firing out. That's the shorter one. And there's the longer one. Yeah, and these look great. Very exciting. That is an element of sort of dynamic action, motion going on with the drone there, and that I really enjoyed and have been playing around with. And I remember from the fan stream when they first revealed Scrap Iron that they pointed out that these were usable with things like bazooka and the missiles there. So lots of opportunity to do stuff with them. My son did sort of say, why have you got two different lengths on them? So, but I was like, I don't know, mate. One's shorter, one's longer. What do you want from me? Then you got these really exciting, like, modern art features. These are the bits I'm a bit less like, whoa, what do I do with these? So we've got these sort of two ground landing explosions. This one's primarily the kind of, is that smoke? Like, with some some of the more explosive orange sort of poking out on the spiky points coming out here. So it's all painted over the top there. That's an interesting looking one. Makes me think of the movie Akira in some respects. Nice and interesting, well sculpted, good looking. You'll notice here it's the same on all of them. The rubbery kind of nature of these spikes towards the end, you can see some of them are a bit warped. I could have got a bit of heat on them to sort that out. I just never got around to it, but that's something to be mindful of, but still very eye-catching. Then we got this one, which is like a swooshy explosion, so we've got more of the kind of flamey effect going out here in this triangular pattern, all nicely sculpted, and then we've got the kind of smoky, bulbousy smoke bit thing. And then we've got these two spiky ones. They've got flat bottoms on them to sit like that. You can see a little poof of smoke across the bottom there, but then this big sort of spiky explosive thing going on with a swirl around it. Mine there's definitely a bit warped on the end, can you see? I don't know if that's accurate, what these rockets look like as they land. But that's what you got. That's what they look like. So, and certainly these are the sorts of accessories that when you get them with the G.I. Joe Classified, they could be cross-purposed for use with any figure, in any scenario, in any sort of display to just give it a little bit more shelf lift and a little bit more excitement factor and a little bit more energy. So I appreciate these greatly, not just because they are super appropriate for the scrap iron figure and the drone in particular, but they're just generically useful, aren't they, in a G.I. Joe Classified series collection. So yeah, very exciting, very interesting, a lovely piece of accessory work there. The sculpting is fantastic. They perhaps just a little bit too plasticky. Could have done with maybe a touch more colour to make them, I don't know what an explosion looks like when it goes off, so who am I to talk? Maybe explosions look like this kind of orangey plastic colour for all I know, but it's a nice choice of plastic with a sort of translucent look and feel. Very, very reminiscent of some of the stuff I've got in my collection from Marvel Legends figures with sort of flamey superpowers and stuff. So yeah, lovely, there you go. And that is the drone and its explosion effects. Let's get back to the man himself then. He's got a few bits of gear for about his person too. I'll start with the helmet that I mentioned earlier there. I really like this helmet actually. It's got a lovely aesthetic to it. The very shiny black visor on top of the sort of more matte black look of the helmet itself. It's got some paint application details like the grills around the ears, the red Cobra symbol on the front. Nicely sculpted, got some kind of textural lines and things in it. Yeah, it's good work. It's good work. It's a good fit over the head as well. They've definitely sculpted it. It's got a good bit of resistance to push down. There's a bit of looseness on there, so you kind of just get a little fiddle and put it where you want it. I like to make sure it's across the arch of the nose like so. But yeah, good. Definitely got a good look. A lot of character and personality in the helmet itself, and you still got a bit of scarring poking out in there and stuff too. I think I'll probably be displaying him without the helmet because I'm just so enamoured by the work of this face sculpt here. But the helmet is a good helmet. It's a solid helmet. It's a good fit. It's excellently sculpted. It's got a lot going for it. I'm just, why would you cover that up? It looks amazing. Then he's got a little bit of weaponry. He's got this handgun here, this little pistol. It's got a very curious shape and size to it. So, hey, Cornelius, if you're out there, do us a solid, bro, and pin that one down for me. Help me backfill my firearms knowledge. It's a single piece of sculpted plastic. You can see it's got the details in there to give it some life, and that fits into the holster there on his right leg. Now this sits kind of a bit funny actually because of the more unique shape of the pistol. When you slide it into the holster, there you can see it's got this kind of sticky uppy bit. It sticks out a little bit more than we're perhaps used to, but it's not a bad fit. It's the holster's designed for this pistol. It creates a bit of a strange aesthetic, but I suppose that's just my eyes not being used to this type of weapon. And then finally, we've got the drone's little command center remote thingamadoodad, which I mentioned in the unboxing looks a bit like a Nintendo Switch. A couple of aerials, got a display screen there that's in a different colour in that sort of red and orange display that's showing I don't know what that's showing actually. like a little targety thing going on. I don't know. Got a couple of joysticks sticking up, some buttons and that. Yeah, it's nice. You know, it's easily identifiable as to what it is and what it's supposed to be. Got some detail in there in the back as well. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Now that doesn't, to my knowledge, I was looking for somewhere to put this, like a little pouch. Thinking back to CoverGirl, like she had a little thigh pouch for her iPad. Or what would have been nice is a little slot on the drone itself that you could slide it into. Yeah, the more I think about it, like a little groove here at the back or something that you could just slide it into would have been tremendous. That would have been a great move. Oh, missed a trick there. G.I. Joe Classified Series team. Somewhere to put the remote. Now, I must admit, I found putting the drone remote in his hands a little bit of a fuss, a little bit of a faff, especially when you're going for sort of picture accuracy and want to get the thumbs positioned on top of the joysticks and the buttons and stuff. So it is a bit fiddly, a bit faffy. Also, his hands, the grips were a bit tight. I had to kind of loosen them up a touch to get it in there, but it looks all right. You know, it looks okay. I'm not sure whether I'll be using the remote a great deal when I pose him up, but the option is there, and it's certainly a very appropriate accessory for the figure. It was just a bit of a fiddle and a faff to kind of get the arms and the hands lined up and then get it in there and stuff. I don't know. I was just feeling impatient with it at that particular moment in time, I think. Oh, man, do you know what? I'm such a dumbass. I've just had a thought. So, are these blast effects? These aren't for the missiles landing. Are these to go behind the drone to indicate, I don't know, like the explosive backdraft from the rear of the unit when it fires its missiles? Huh. I will investigate that further, but there we go, folks. There we are then, folks. There he is, all with all the gear, everything that comes with him. So it's clearly a thumbs up when it comes to accessories and added value. Although, what I would challenge is the term added value. It's a good accessory selection, if you even consider that an accessory, because, of course, there's the inflated price tag to go with this. So this was £44.99, 45 quid for me over here in the UK, which is obviously a good 20 quid more than you would fork out for a standard G.I. Joe Classified Series figure. And you do get a lot for your money, but I don't know whether that is sufficient for, it's nearly the price of a second figure, isn't it? But I don't consider that or treat that like it's a second figure. It's probably the equivalent of plastic with all the blast effects and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. So while it's a thumbs up for accessories, because I love the selection, these have got a lot of possibilities with them over and above just using them with scrap iron. The drone is just got a lot of personality and, again, brings another level, another layer to the way you can display and photograph and set up dioramas and stuff for your figures. So that's all very exciting. I like this stuff, giving it some dynamic motion and some action in the mix. The stuff that's going on with scrap irons, okay. Might have liked a little submachine gun or something too, but, as is often the case with these reviews, I always want a little bit more. But I just don't know whether it's 20 quid's worth or not, so that's interesting. So it's a good selection, and I think it provides a lot of opportunity for playability factor and enjoyment for your action figure experience. But does it offer 20 quid's more? I don't know. That's still open for debate. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Couple of very quick figure comparisons for you guys. I mentioned earlier about the Viper and the kind of uniformality with the rank and file, which the Viper is obviously. He's a bit dusty, actually. He's been out on the shelf undusted for too long. What a shame. But yeah, you can see how, even though he kind of lines up in terms of the colour scheme and everything, he's still got his own personality, his own character. He stands apart from the rank and file with the kind of reversed colour schemes and stuff going on there, so that's a nice touch. And here he is with Tomax. Is it Tomax? Tomax is the one with the shielding on the right shoulder. I think I've got that the right way around. But again, with that kind of uniformal feel, so he kind of fits in, blends in. If you're looking for that kind of uniformality with your display, I've often said recently that I'm getting a bit more excited, a bit more giddy about the more idiosyncratic selection of characters and the more crazy colour schemes. But yeah, if you're looking for something... for another figurehead stand at the front of your rank and file, you can see kind of how they tie together, but also have their own personalities. Here's Scrap Iron with fellow wave buddy Copperhead, so you can again see that element of uniformality, but obviously the colour scheme is different there, but they tie together well, they work together well, and I like this pair as a pairing. I've obviously had the more recent G.I. Joe Classified Series purchases sitting further forward on the shelf or towards the top of the box, depending on where they've ended up. And so these two have been paired up together a couple of times over the last few days. And finally, just to put a Joe in the mix there, one of the good guys, we've got another fellow wave buddy, rock and roll. So you can see the villain next to the hero. So it's final thoughts time then, folks, and I hope regular viewers will excuse me for not dropping this on the turntable like I normally do to give you the full 360 view. My camera stand doesn't have enough of a range of motion to allow me to get it far back enough to capture that accurately, but hopefully this will give you an impression of kind of how I've had him posed up. In fact, in the Lightbox the other day when I was doing the thumbnail photos, I think that's probably the pose or there or thereabouts that I'm going to use for the thumbnail, but with the better background. So yeah, final thoughts time, and I'm really happy with Scrap Iron, to be honest. I think he's a great addition to my Cobra villain selection. He's got real shelf presence, he really stands out. The head sculpt alone just really catches the eye of a passerby, but I think also the way the uniform ties together, the quality of the paint applications, the amount of texture that's going on in there, and of course the drone itself really means he stands out, because the drone's never too far away from him, you know what I mean? Yeah, there are some criticisms. The drone hasn't excited me and blown me away quite as much as I anticipated it would. I'm not quite as buzzing off that as maybe I would have liked to have been. There's loads to like. It's a positive thing. It's a great experience, and I love how they're sort of fleshing out what the line offers in that respect. I'm just... if it could just look a bit less plasticky and get a bit more range of motion so that I feel like that extra price tag, which is close to the cost of a second figure, basically, that I'm getting as much out of that time and play-wise as I would do out of a second figure. And I suppose that's the point, is that if this was 40, 35, 37.99 rather than 44, I mean, I did pay an inflated price for import, so maybe it is more priced that way, and I've obviously paid the import tax, as it were, to get it through an independent retailer here rather than directly from Hasbro Pulse, because you've got to support your independent retailers. And while I'm on the subject, massive shout out to Kapow Toys and In Demand Toys, the two retailers I'm aware of over here who have been serving the needs of G.I. Joe Classified Series fans with their import arrangements. Well done, folks, and support your independent retailers. So yeah, there's not a great deal else to say. I just the visual aspect of this character is definitely the one I think that's landed with me the most. I'll probably find a pose, get him in display, and he'll not be one I play around with a great deal, but I'll appreciate and enjoy as a display figure a great deal, because I just love that head sculpt. I've banged on about it enough. I think I've laid it on thick enough to point out how great that head sculpt is. So there we go, Scrap Iron and his anti-armor drone. I hope you've enjoyed this review today. If you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, but you've been on the fence, it's my hope that the review thoughts I've shared with you today will help you make your mind up as to whether this is the figure and drone robot-y thing for you. If you have enjoyed the review and found it useful, please do hit the thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, then please take a moment, hit the subscribe button, join the MoDXtra Games and Collectibles viewing community. My stats are telling me there's an awful lot of folks watch my videos who don't seem to be subscribed. Like 80% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. Or if you've got insight to let me know what I'm doing wrong and why you're not subscribing, then drop me a DM somewhere. Track me down on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and give me a shout. I'd love the feedback. But that's it, wrapped up now. Thank you so very much for watching. It's been my absolute pleasure. I know there's a million different channels you could have chosen, and you've chosen mine today, and I really appreciate you for that. That's it's so exciting to know that folks all over the world are watching this stuff. I hope you have a great day, folks, and I'll see you around these parts again sometime soon. All right, ta-ra now.